ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now, the Ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan Ducross.
All right. Trying to do something different. We are the Ducross Brothers. It's an evening night show, so hopefully you guys are tuning in right now on wherever you're streaming us from. Appreciate the love. I'm Tristan Ducross. This is my brother, Sean Ducross. We are the Ducross Brothers. Shout out to our sponsor, I Love Anti, for all your CBD needs. Go to iloveanti.com. Use promo code DucrossBros, and you can get 10% off. In the meantime, what has shocked the world, and we're breaking it right now, so if you guys like wrestling or you don't like wrestling, well, spoiler alert. Henry Cejudo, who has announced retirement from the UFC, had his title stripped away from him, Sean, has just shown up on All Elite Wrestling tonight on AEW Dynamite. If you're not watching the live feed, I've been getting messages all night about, can you believe it? Henry Cejudo, Vitor Belfort, All Elite, AEW, right now with Mike Tyson. Can you believe that, Sean?
You're talking about Mike Tyson, and he's been such in the mainstream media for now we're going on almost a month, it seems like. And you're talking about everything that Mike Tyson's done. The fact that he shows up on Dynamite tonight with Vitor Belfort and crew and Henry Cejudo, it just tips the scale a little bit. You're wondering if AEW is getting desperate. You wonder what their agenda is behind it. But the fact of the matter is that they're going out with a bang, so to speak, after AEW Double or Nothing. And it's eerie, ironic that it's like almost a decade to the year that Mike Tyson knocked out, or I can't quite remember, whatever he did to Jericho, that we're here now, and that's what they're playing up on AEW. And Vitor Belfort came out last week or a couple days ago and said that he wouldn't mind tag teaming with that of Mike Tyson in AEW.
So why not now?
So are we leading to a pay-per-view between the Inner Circle, Mike Tyson, and Vitor Belfort?
I don't know, because you and I were talking about that. When we saw Mike Tyson all of a sudden at 53 years old looking some of the best shape that he has ever been in, right, Sean?
Yeah.
And we saw clips of him training with Vitor Belfort, and my immediate reaction was like, oh, no wonder why he looks so good, is because we're talking about Vitor Belfort, and he's on TRT in one, so why not? Why not? Why couldn't Mike Tyson be on the TRT, right?
Yep.
So here we are, All Elite Dynamite tonight, Wednesday night. Henry Cejudo, Vitor Belfort, Mike Tyson, all on AEW, all confronting Chris Jericho, talking about stuff from 2010. If I had the clip, I would get the clip and blast it right here, right now. But talk about a turn of events, right?
I mean, I don't know what else to really say. The fact that this is weird. This is really weird. Like, we're going to talk about AEW Double or Nothing.
And we were also talking about a little bit about Mike Tyson later on this evening, about what's the latest of him. Because everybody wants to throw out their card. Well, let's just flip the script, Sean. Flip the script a little bit. Mike Tyson has been talked about whether or not he's going to be fighting for real, fighting expedition fights, and so on. So here he is in All Elite Wrestling, Sean, right? My one thing about this was, I was thinking that before Mike Tyson takes this $20 million so-called purse that's out there from bare knuckle fighting, was that you sit here now, Sean, and I keep saying that let's get his feet wet, right? Let's not throw him into the deep end because he's 53 years old. let's just wait a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, well, you throw out the expedition fights. Roy Jones wants him. Evander Holyfield wants him. Tyson Fury wants him. All for expedition fights. We know that there has been times where Mike Tyson has been inside a squared circle for wrestling multiple times before. Why not do something nostalgic? Why not do something like this? Mike Tyson's 53 years old. Hell, if they're paying him the money,
why not?
Exactly.
And you're talking about Tony Khan running AEW.
Who has deep pockets.
Right? So if he's got pockets, why not use them? If he wants to spend money, why not go for it? I mean, you're talking about a boatload of money, okay? You're talking about bare knuckle throwing around $20 million. It's really interesting to see or hear roughly maybe what AEW is reportedly paying Mike Tyson. But it's interesting that we're here considering that the guy, Mike Tyson, has been all over social media for yawning during AEW's Double or Nothing.
You know, like the Michael Jordan memes of the crying faces? I'm waiting for Mike Tyson yawning turning into a meme at this point. Because he was holding the TNT title at all Elite Wrestling Double or Nothing. And oh my God, what a train wreck that was. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But Mike Tyson yawning at an event like that now steps in foot inside the ring face to face with Chris Jericho. I don't get the live feed until the pre-taped feed till later this evening. But I will definitely be watching this because I want to figure out what exactly transpired just beside me getting the text messages and stuff like that. Mike Tyson's on AEW or Henry Cejudo. And I'm like, dude, I don't have it yet.
Let me get there.
So I'm on Twitter like, what is this going on? So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what is going on with All Elite Wrestling and what direction they're going with this now, with Henry Cejudo, Vitor Belfort. How does one championship feel about Vitor Belfort in AEW? If this is 100% legit, and Vitor Belfort has said he wants to tag team with Mike Tyson, what's next for them? That's my mind is completely blown right now. For these people to all of a sudden show up in AEW. I almost felt like that this was an NWO kind of thing going on. I was like, a new world order stepping into AEW?
What it sounded like and what it looked like from what I've seen so far is that it looked a lot like the era of when Mike Tyson showed up against Steve Austin and they had all the entourage and they had everything else like that. It was as if they're playing that up again. And it's like what worked back in the 90s isn't necessarily going to work now.
See, that's my fear.
You're regurgitating something that was so big and so massive in that time frame and trying to bring it back.
So again, Mike Tyson has gone viral over the weeks, right? Hot topic. Everybody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to put on their own spin on it, right? Tonight, with him showing him up, do you think that they're just trying to catch a lightning in a bottle right now with Mike Tyson?
No, because the lightning in the bottle is gone. There's no trying to re-spark anything. There's no redo. There is none of that. I don't even know what they're trying to figure out in doing right now. I don't even know what they're trying to grasp at. When I get that they're winning in ratings.
Right.
So why do you got to do desperate actions? I know your roster is thin. It's regurgitating the same wrestlers over and over again with no real storyline or output.
Bro, you are seeing the thinness of that roster.
So that's the only thing I think of is that they're using Mike Tyson as an asset or at least feeling out time frame until individuals start to become free from the WWE. That's the only thing I can think of. And the only thing is that I could maybe see their stalling time is to try to rebuild up Brian Cage. You've got the halfway point of what your shirt says here, control the narrative.
Thank you, EC3. Just got to give a shout out to EC3. Thank you. Control your narrative.
So you've got to look at EC3 as he's already hitting his halfway point of his contract, where soon he'll be free to go wherever he wants to go. So you got to think that he's going to go to AEW because, again, another spoiler, FTR arrived at AEW tonight.
Yes, they did. Rolled up in their old school kind of truck. That was pretty cool to see.
So you look at that, and they're starting to fill out the roster as they come free from the WWE, from the firings that they're looking to fill in voids with.
But they need to get rid of all the haha and stuff like that if they're going to go this route. If they're going to keep bringing in big-time players that could change the game for professional wrestling, you got to change it. You have to. So it'll be interesting to see the direction of which way they go. I mean, AEW, they started off strong. They started off hot. I thought that the potential was there for them to do something different. But after All Elite Double or Nothing, I'm left questioning about that.
I think you and everybody else.
But we're going to go to a break and come out with UFC Fight Night 9 on ESPN. We got Tyron Woodley versus Burns. Spike Carlyle has been moved from the prelims to the main card, filling the void of the Holland fight. We'll talk about that here coming up out of this break. We are the Ducross Brothers. I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, my partner, Grime, Sean Ducross. We are the Ducross Brothers. Dare to cross that line. The Ducross Brothers, the Sports Warriors, a combat sports talk show where we talk about professional wrestling, combat sports, and mixed martial arts, boxing, Muay Thai, you name it. We got all your combat sports covered right here with the Ducross Brothers. A fresh take on what combat sports talk shows are about. We are the Ducross Brothers. I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, Sean Ducross. We do this every Wednesday. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button. All right, everybody, we are back. Thank you for tuning in to a special night right here of the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, my brother, Sean Ducross. Sean, incredible night so far. We got the breaking news of Henry Cejudo, Vitor Belfort showing up on AEW Dynamite tonight with Mike Tyson. That's going to be something that's going to shock the airwaves for quite a while about what is going on with Henry Cejudo, because I don't know. Retired, not retired, maybe not.
Hey, Henry Cejudo is the guy that's the king of cringe. Remember, that's his nickname. He's making you cringe right now by being on AE Dynamite. Just saying.
Unbelievable. And then you fast forward to this weekend. May 30th, we will have our first mixed martial arts fight card in Las Vegas. It was okayed and green-lighted by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. It was okay. It'll be at the UFC Apex Center in Las Vegas. One issue that comes to mind is it's a smaller cage. Tyron Woodley and Burns inside of a small cage. It's going to be interesting because I see a lot of clinch work from Woodley. I think it's a bad matchup for Woodley because I kind of like Burns on the ground. I like the aspect of him being able to be multifaceted inside that cage. My thinking is that in order for Woodley to win, he has to win the clinch game and be in top position. That's the only way I see him winning. That's it. This is Woodley's first fight since losing that middleweight title. I don't know where his head's at. That's my thing, though. Is he acting? Is he rapping? Is he in? Is he out? Like,
see, you're funny to me.
Why?
Because, yeah, it's a smaller cage. It's a 25-foot cage instead of a 30-foot cage. Big John McCarthy came out over the week in an interview and said that, the UFC prefers a smaller cage because it allows for more action.
I can see that.
And if you look at Tyron Woodley likes to avoid action. He doesn't always like to engage. It depends on which Tyron Woodley you get.
Exactly.
Now you're putting Tyron Woodley in a lion's den of where there needs to be a little bit more action. He has no real area to back up into. The interesting thing, though, is, and I bring up, is the fact that here's something that Tyron Woodley had to say about Burns. He's got a nice left hook, an uppercut, got some knees and flying knees, kicks, punches, and calf kicks. To me, when he says those words, sounds like he wants to avoid striking, much like he did against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He didn't want to strike with Stephen Wonderboy. He wanted to keep it at a distance. He was more leery of trying to engage and was perhaps one of the worst performances of his career. Now you're going to put him in the lion's den where a guy who is a good striker, a guy who is able to get people to the mat, versus a guy who wants to avoid all of those because he's not comfortable with it. But yet he says he's willing to go in there and put on a fight for the fans. I just don't see it. To me, when you make that type of a statement, you already basically showed your hand about what stylistic matchup you want to bring. You want to bring distance. You want to avoid striking. So,
and where I think it should be the polar opposite, work on your clinch game, get top position, and you're okay. We know the power in Tyron Woodley's hands. We know that. What we don't know is the type of fighter he is mentally coming into this fight. Because of all the outside endeavors that he has and what's going on. That's my problem with Woodley. Burns comes in, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, grappler, power in both hands. I think he's a little bit of a better version of Tyron Woodley. Ooh. And he just took down what many people thought that couldn't be done, is he defeated in a very exciting way, and I point that out, exciting way, finishing off Damian Maia when not many people can finish off Damian Maia, and normally is a very boring fight against Damian Maia, and he performed admirably against him.
You just said Burns is a better version of Tyron Woodley.
Yes.
That's a bold statement.
And don't get me wrong, this is a former middleweight champion. I get it from Strikeforce days. I've seen it all. I get it. But the thing is that, again, Tyron Woodley, you don't know what type of fighter you are going to get out of him 90% of the time.
And again, point in case.
Like
you wanted this fight for meaning UFC and Burns and other people, wanted this fight to be 3 rounds. It was Tyron Woodley that said, nah, let's make this 5 rounds. I want to take this guy into deep water.
I'm sure he does.
I want to show him exactly that he can't hang for 5 rounds. But excuse me, then he goes ahead and again, his words, I am going to weather the storm for 3 rounds from Burns. So you're going to get into a slugfest or potentially get taken down by Burns and hope you survive? Okay, Burns' career, 6 knockouts, 8 submissions. Bro, you've got 7 knockouts, the rest are decisions. Are you sure you want to weather the storm of a guy who's a finisher?
Also, think about this too, Sean. If you were, say, you're going to weather the storm for the first 3 rounds, right?
Yeah.
Bro, if you lose the first 3 rounds because you are trying to weather the storm, that leaves you 2 rounds. That means that you are losing 3 rounds leading into the last 2, which means You can't win the fight unless you go for a knockout.
Right?
So
I'm
again,
confused about what Tyrone Woodley is saying.
Again, that's my thinking about this whole Woodley situation.
Oh my goodness.
Is that every single time I hear him talk, I just want him to stop talking for a second and think before he actually speaks, because he ain't rapping, he ain't selling anything. And if you're selling the fact that you're going to weather the storm for 3 rounds, you're giving him 3 rounds, thinking that you're going to finish the fight in the last 2? You might want to talk to Colby Covington's corner, because he just left all the American Top Team, and you might be leaving your team real soon too.
What is I'm not even gonna go there. We'll save that for the end of the show, because it just ties into something else about Colby Covington leaving American Top Team, but to stay with the UFC on ESPN 9. But yeah, that's just ridiculous. I'm gonna go with Gilbert Burns in a second round submission victory over Tyrone Woodley. Tyrone Woodley's got to go back to the drawing board and figure this thing out.
Yeah, I'm going Burns too. I think Burns finishes this fight too. I'm going in the 3rd round. I just don't like the fact that Woodley has no identity right now. I don't know whether he's all
rounds.
That, and the fact that I don't know if he's all in or all out. I don't know if it's acting or rapping that has his priority. I don't know. So when I see this fight, I see Woodley and I see Burns, and I think Burns is hungrier than Woodley, so I'm going Burns. That's why. Spike Carlyle, we've seen this guy fight numerous amount of times. We have followed his career. I spoke to him the other night. He's in great spirits and is hungry as hell to get this W. Took a fight on short notice against a bad dude and Billy Quarantino. So this fight could be fight of the night.
If Spike Carlyle comes out the way that he did in his debut, absolutely.
Both guys in their debuts, exciting finishes by both of them.
Absolutely. But it's interesting to see that it's at a catch weight, considering that I swear to God that Dana White said there would never be any catch weights
during the pandemic.
Not during just the pandemic, just in general. You typically don't see catch weights in the UFC. You see that in Bellator.
Well, it's funny because
that in other promotions, but you don't see that typically in the UFC.
Right, and that's why I had to reach out and talk to Spike, was because I've never seen Spike have any issues with weight cut. Never.
Yeah, and then you're looking at the fact that this fight will take place at 150.
Yep.
And
he just said that it was a quick turnaround. And getting to 145, he's already naturally a big 145er.
And you're speaking about a quick turnaround. He's replacing the Kevin Holland fight.
Yep.
And you're talking about a quick turnaround. I was like, dude, Kevin Holland from
that was a quick turnaround
from 2 weeks ago is trying to come back around. No wonder why that fight got yanked, was because he has an injured shoulder. It's like 2 weeks. I mean, I give him props for wanting to do it, but I mean, good Lord, hey now.
Yeah.
But you lose that fight, and Spike Carlyle and his fight goes into the main card. Kevin Holland's fight drops down off the main card onto the
prelims. Yeah, because Daniel Rodriguez will face on
Daniel Green.
Yep.
And dude, that's another
Gabe Green, not Daniel Green. Daniel Rodriguez, Gabe Green.
Sorry.
Yeah, so they fall down to the prelims, but I think that's a better fight to have on the main card is Spike versus Billy.
Is it, considering that Green,
dude, you're talking about
it's on a 6-fight finishing streak,
making his UFC debut?
Doesn't matter. 6 finishes.
I'm looking for excitement.
Yes, 6 finishes in a row consecutively. 6 making his debut in the UFC.
And Daniel Garcia's won his last 11 of 12 or something like that, and he's fought for King of the Cage, Bellator, Combates Americas. I mean, he's been all around the world, and now he's put it on the UFC cape.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. I'm okay with. I would have been okay that if Green and Rodriguez would have stayed on the main card. It just didn't make any difference to me. Win, lose, or draw.
I don't know. To me, I'm just excited that, again, Spike Carlyle We've seen him all around the world, from Epic Fighting to CFX to Cage Wars. And this guy has been one of the most well-rounded fighters, knows what he's about, knows his own game plan, knows what type of fighter he is, and make no mistake about it, he knows where he wants to go. And I feel bad for anybody that's standing in front of him, because he's always had that mission, Sean.
Yeah.
He's always been that guy that has always been, I know my end game. I know my worth. Well, buddy, here you go. Here's your worth. Show the world May 30th what you're about. And again, shock the world.
And you talking about showing your worth? Mackenzie Dern returns on this fight card after suffering her first defeat. Now the question is going to be, one, again, like always, she going to make weight? And
100%.
Mentally, how does she return after suffering her first ever loss?
It's true.
That's going to be the biggest key. Question is, how is she going to return after suffering that first loss? There's a lot of what ifs and a lot of question marks that are coming to Mackenzie Dern coming UFC on ESPN 9.
Yep. And that's the thing, is ESPN Fight Night 9 on ESPN. Again, doing something that many combat sports are not doing right now, is putting on fights. UFC, again, first in line, first out, Las Vegas, first event as Las Vegas gets ready to open up. Congratulations to them. Let's get the ball moving and let's get the ball rolling again. At least this is somewhat normalcy now.
Yeah.
Granted, still no fans allowed. Still a horrible thought to even think of. But still no fans. Although it would be interesting if they start doing something like the WWE, the AEW, and putting plants out there. You know, like other fighters.
What was interesting is that we could talk about everything a little bit later. Is that you talk about the WWE, and we can talk about that after we get out of the break. But yeah, you talk about the fans. I mean, the plants are an interesting approach for sure. But you know what? We're gonna go ahead, take our next break, and then we'll get right back into it and get to boxing. A little bit of an interesting take here with Eddie Hearn.
Backyard boxing? I don't know. But hear what the brothers have to say about this next. We got Fight Island, so why not backyard boxing? The Ducross brothers, Sean and Tristan Ducross, will be right back. The Ducross brothers, Sean and Tristan Ducross, live Wednesdays, a combat sports talk show breathing fresh air into the combat sports talk world. So enjoy with Sean and Tristan Ducross every Wednesday. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. Tristan Ducross, Sean Ducross. Small little breakdown. AEW had Henry Cejudo, Vitor Belfort, and Mike Tyson all on the same card. UFC ESPN 9 is going down. Spike Carlyle is on the main card now. We got Burns over Tyrone Woodley. It's just the way it is. And now we have something that is so far out of this world. No, we ain't talking about the Stadium Stampede or the Money in the Bank, corporate Money in the Bank ladder match that changed the world for professional wrestling. No. We ain't talking about Fight Island, Sean. No. The man, Eddie Hearn. Matchroom Boxing. Big, huge mansion in London. Sits on acres and acres and acres and acres of land. Has decided to go to London and pitch an idea. Who am I kidding? There is no idea. This is actually legit real. Just like as real as Fight Island is. And Hearn is going to have boxing at his compound. What? Eddie Hearn, the boxer, the man behind Matchroom Boxing and DAZN. Boxing fight camp on his compound, on his acres of land, and we have the breakdown for you. We do. I'll show you it right now. Look at this. Here are some details. This is what the fight camp will look like. Can't notice, we got Sky Sports out there. The fighters will walk in. There will be no announcers at ringside at all. Where they will be, don't know. Heck, they might be with a computer, a monitor, and they might be watching it from inside the mansion. Don't know. 4 fight cards. 5 fights on each card. It'll take place over 28 days. First bout right now is ironed out at the fight camp at Eddie Hearn's mansion. Is Terry Harper versus Natasha Jonas for the WBC and the IBO title. Like, are you kidding me? That's the way that this is going to work out. Because everybody wants to know, well, what are the safety measures? Well, crew will be limited to 90 people. Masks will be worn by every crew member. 12 Matchroom employees, broadcast staff, board of officials, 8 to 9 medical personnel will all be there. 3 cornermen, 10 fighters per night. Quarantine venue hotel testing on arrival. Quarantined for 24 hours before the fight. Zoom press conferences and media calls only. Spit buckets with lids and bleaching. Ring ropes and canvas cleaned every fight. Temperature checks every time. What we will not see at Matchroom Fight Camp, we will not see ring girls. We will not see the crowd. We will not see entourages. And no ring announcers, like I mentioned at the beginning of this, is that the ring announcers will not be there.
Or ring announcers.
Right?
Like, they get the raw end of this deal during this pandemic. My goodness.
And again, we mentioned spit buckets because there has been an ongoing issue about said spit buckets.
So the commission said no to spit buckets. Eddie Hearn said yes to spit buckets. And here's how he's going to get around that.
Because he says that we must have spit buckets. Well, you're going to get spit buckets. So each spit bucket will be wiped at each round, bleached before each fight. Cleaner must wear a face mask, eye protection, long sleeve, fluid repellent, gloves, and gown while interacting with said spit bucket.
So what are they going to look like? Nurses? Or somebody that's in a quarantine area? They're going to wear like white little tight suits and stuff like that? Like, what?
They have to. They have to wear some kind of gowns. So instead of Fight Island, we get the backyard fighting at Eddie Hearn's mansion.
Well, who would have thought that we would have got an announcement of this magnitude before we know anything about Fight Island?
About what Fight Island's going to look like?
Yeah.
Yet now we know what a fight camp looks like on a compound.
Eddie Hearn was on his Instagram, and he's the one that let go of all this information.
Yes, he was. Because it was also mentioned that Nevada, as of this morning, they okayed the fact that we get to now have fights in combat sports in Las Vegas. Is that Top Rank will have fight cards on the 9th, the 11th, and the 18th.
Which we'll talk about in the next coming weeks.
Right.
But you talk about this event here called Matchroom Fight Camp. And as you saw the images here regarding everything, it's a unique idea. The fact that he's holding it at his Matchroom headquarters in London on his 15-acre land, it's interesting. It really is, to see how he's going to do it. And my goodness, he has the backyard to do it. And the first fight, like you said, Terry Harper versus Natasha Jonas, was scheduled back in April 24th. Is now being moved to, the first fight is scheduled to happen mid-July. So we still got some time. We may get to Fight Island somewhere before that. But as of right now, we've at least got Matchroom Fight Camp. Got to make sure you slow that down to really convey the message about what it's called.
Fight Camp.
So it's interesting, but Eddie Hearn has been making multiple headlines. The fact that he's going outdoor, the fact that he created this camp, 4 fight cards over 28 days, 5 fights on the card. He's also making headlines today because of the fact that he was during multiple interviews on Sky Sports or ESPN. It really didn't matter. He was all over the place today, conveying the message of that he plans to have a sit-down conversation with Dana White, and in which he made a very notable quote that it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Here's the quote. I'm going to be reaching out to Dana White and saying, tell me how this works. Can we actually do this? Are we doing it in a ring? We doing it in a cage? Are we doing 1 round of each? It's really got a lot of momentum and a lot of promise. I think there's a really good chance it could happen. So again, we have Eddie Hearn in the middle of all this that's going on right now in the world of combat sports. Eddie Hearn is the one that has been, hey, I'm just going to throw out this nugget.
Well, that's the thing with Eddie Hearn is you saw that with DAZN in the celebrity boxing. So for him to go out and say that he wants to do a mashup event with boxing and UFC, it's really remarkable, because it doesn't surprise me for a guy with his mind and his intellect of figuring out how to reach multiple masses and get things done at a different clip. It's remarkable. So the interesting idea is that is the fact that he said he wants to do it in a ring and have it transform into a cage in between matchups. And the other thing too, that I was talking to our people over on Sided to get their votes and their takes on their thoughts about, would you watch a mashup event? And it's really split right now in terms of what people think they want to see. And really, they're like, well, are we going to see it inside of a cage? Well, the whole idea is that a boxer versus an MMA fighter. You're going to have, that's his idea, is a boxer versus an MMA fighter.
And we've heard this idea thrown around for so much, right?
Yeah. So you're talking about a boxer versus an MMA fighter in a boxing ring, and an MMA fighter versus a boxer
in a cage.
That's unique in itself.
Almost like their own version of War Games. You get 2 rings, 1 boxing and 1 inside of a cage. Oh, wait, we kind of had something like that with Bellator kickboxing.
But again, that's not what he's talking about.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
He's talking about somehow figuring out how to transition a ring to a cage. A ring to a cage. That's going to be a lot of work to try to do that in between your fights. Like,
yeah, because
the timing's got to be done correctly if you want to do that. Because, like you said, Bellator did it with Bellator kickboxing, and
but they had to take it from the ceiling.
But yes, but I'm talking about that. You mentioned Bellator, it did it for them, but they had it for 2 separate rings. They had a cage set up and a ring set up. You're talking about now doing wrestling style then?
It's possible. Oh, well, that's
So bring down a square cage instead of a octagon style cage? Bro, do you know how weird that sounds? Hanging from a ceiling high above.
But you couldn't do that because it's outside.
What's outside?
The fight camp's outside, and I'm sure Fight Island's going to be somehow outside unless it's going to be...
That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the Fight Island. We're talking about the matchup. The mashup event.
Yes, which that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is that if you're gonna put...
We're not talking about Fight Island because
then where are you
the fight camp is completely
where
different.
Are they going to do this mashup?
Who knows?
You think that it's going to be in Vegas?
No, they're talking about it at the end of the year.
Yes, I know.
By the end of the year, we're not going to be in the pandemic.
Sean, we're talking about here. Vegas is home of Dana. Eddie Hearn is home of London.
Yeah, so you're doing it in New York. You're doing it in a neutral thing.
Where?
You can do it at Madison Square Garden. You can do it wherever.
Then why can't you do it? Why can't you hang a cage from the top?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it'd still be ridiculous.
It's possible.
But that would be the only way to do it. But except for, have you ever seen an MMA fight in a square circle?
First time for everything. You're talking about a mashup unit here. Boxers versus MMA fighters.
I guess.
I wonder, how many people would actually sign on the dotted line? You got Conor McGregor that wants to fight Manny Pacquiao. Well, there's Eddie Hearn. You got Francis Ngannou that wants to go into boxing. Well, there you go. Anthony Joshua wants to don his big boy pants and jump into a MMA cage fight. So, you already have legit a laundry list of fighters that is literally like, hey, I'm up. I'm good for it. Like, there is so much money that is right there for the taking that could literally make this hey, how about this? Look, the Paul brothers versus Dylan Dennis. Conor McGregor on that card. You want to talk about something just blowing the roof off the place? You could also do it in Staples Center.
Yeah, no.
Just saying. You want to make something so absurd where everybody would pay to see this. There's your payment.
There's so
everybody said, oh, I won't watch the Paul brothers fight. They're making a mockery of boxing. Yeah, y'all did.
Right?
They made money.
So, see, after reeling you back and realizing we're on a different topic here, away from Matchroom Fight Camp thing, and realizing that we're talking about the mashup, see how crazy this sounds? How crazy that
money
putting
talks.
boxing and UFC together? But that's the crazy mind of Eddie Hearn. That's the craziest mind from Dana White. Dana White's been talking about Zuffa boxing for a long time. When he put the Floyd Mayweather...
I don't ever think that's getting off the ground, though,
When he talked about Floyd Mayweather...
Yep.
And he talked about Conor McGregor, and the promotion for that fight was not just Conor McGregor, it was Zuffa boxing. Whether it legitimately gets off the ground, best believe that if this mashup happens, we're going to see Zuffa boxing branded all over the place again. That ain't going to go away. It's just whether it's going to just pop up in an entity rather than a full-blown promotion.
I can see that, honestly.
With the two splits here, we may very well, this may be the only way we see Zuffa boxing is by blending multiple avenues. And you can't tell me that you wouldn't want to watch it. I've got more guesses on Cited was saying that they want to see the matchup. They're just worried about the health of the fighters.
Yeah.
Because if you put an MMA fighter in a boxing ring, how well are they going to be trained to absorb a fight and then vice versa?
Right, because again, you see firsthand, and take this for what it is. You saw Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, whether you liked it or you didn't, or you thought that it was a joke. Right.
That took training from Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor took time off out of his schedule to focus solely on boxing. So essentially for this is that if you want like a Francis Ngannou to go into a boxing bout in this mashup event with UFC and Eddie Hearn, he's got to now take time off from now till the end of the year, essentially, in order for this to make sense, because he can't take another fight. So at what point do we start to realize that this is really a moving part? because Eddie Hearn said it himself. Like, this is moving. This is moving real quick. The fact that Dylan White came out and said that he would take on Francis Ngannou.
Yep.
The fact that Dylan is a world-class kickboxer, was for 5 years in London in the British, the top dog in kickboxing, was a 2-time world champion. Guy's no pushover, Tristan. And you look at where this is going. You're talking about Dylan's going to fight Alexander Povetkin in the next couple months.
Going to be a good fight.
So the talk is that at the end of the year, this mashup event
could very well happen.
So we may see a New Year's special.
And you're hearing it first on the Ducross Brothers.
A New Year's special event that features the UFC and Bellator. UFC and boxing, UFC and boxing. I'm thinking Bellator because Bellator is used to doing New Year's
co-branded
shows.
events and stuff.
So this will be unique in itself. And I was talking to you off air about how can they make this a big spectacle. Well, you got Dylan White, and you could do Francis Ngannou. Okay? You can also do, so you do Dylan and Francis in the boxing aspect. Because that's what Francis wants to do. That's what Dylan's willing to
Who do you
oblige.
put Anthony Joshua against?
You put Anthony Joshua in that cage against a guy like Stipe Miocic.
Dude, how crazy it would be? Just throwing this out there. Anthony Joshua versus John Jones.
Then John Jones has to move up to heavyweight.
Yes, he's already talked about moving up to heavyweight.
Or maybe Anthony Joshua can make 205.
But can you, the possibilities based off of what you hear on the outside and what you hear on the inside and what we've heard, that this is fast track, this is moving. And you're hearing it from the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors right here, that this is fast tracked. This is moving.
They're listening to the fans and everything that is going on out there. It's a lot of moving parts. But there's real traction to this.
Absolutely
mashup.
now. Absolutely now. Absolutely.
Just like there was real traction when everybody was like, oh no, the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather thing's never going to happen.
But did you
it
think?
Happened.
But look, my whole thinking is we wouldn't even be talking about any of these fight camps, these fight islands, or these mashups if it wasn't for the pandemic, where you had to legit think outside the box, right?
Yeah.
How are you going to put on events? What will garner attention? How can you get money? Well, this is how you're going to do it, unfortunately, in the world we live in until we get to 2021.
Right? You got to absorb what you can and take your wins and losses where you can. And this would be a big win for combat sports. To do something on a big magnitude that will garner a lot of traction.
And
the
again,
fact that Matchroom has a lot of star-studded athletes that want to make the transition.
And thinking outside the box.
Accept the transition of other guys. Jorge Masvidal, Francis, Joshua.
You're telling me the Diaz brothers wouldn't be interested in a payday in boxing?
You know how big you can make that event if you really wanted to? And the fact that you can probably label it underneath boxing, which means everybody gets paid.
Everybody gets a bigger payday?
Make more payday than you've ever done in your lifetime? Bro, that's
why wouldn't you want to sign on that dotted line?
That's a no-brainer to me.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, you put that contract in front of me right now, it's like, yes, please. I will go.
Where do I sign on the dotted line?
Just tell me, boxing, MMA. Where am I going?
As long as you get paid as a boxer.
If I'm Dana White and I'm Eddie Hearn and we're talking at some point this week, lay it down. Lay it all down. Bring everybody to the table.
That's what I'm saying. Dude, Sean,
the possibilities are
we're
endless.
seeing a 24-team tournament in the NHL coming back. There might be a tournament style for the NBA. When NFL comes back, it'll be without fans, but there's something a little bit different about that. Baseball, a little bit different. I think, honestly, we're not going to see baseball. Baseball's done. I think we're going to get a strike. And
they want a pay cut.
Oh, my God, dude, that's a joke and a half. So that leaves combat sports. filling a void, a natural void right now in the sports world, that for once they could come together as one and literally blow the roof off the world in combat sports.
Absolutely.
And it could be brought to you by Dana White and Eddie Hearn.
Astronomical proportions. Things can blow up and break revenue records, ratings records, gate records, everything by doing this mashup. Like, it's ridiculous.
You think Fight Island is going to...
If you miss this conversation, just rewind it back.
Right? Just
rewind it back.
Dial it back a little bit.
But you know what? We're going to go into our last break, then we're going to get back, and we're going to talk about AEW. Double or Nothing.
Right. Double or Nothing and more with the Ducross Brothers right after this. Wrapping up the show. Finish strong. We are the Ducross Brothers. Tristan Ducross, Sean Ducross. The Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors, Sean and Tristan Ducross, a combat sports talk show every Wednesday. You can go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, thumbs up, like us, share us. Every Wednesday, you want a fresh take on combat sports talk? We are what you want. The Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors, Sean and Tristan Ducross. All right, everybody, I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, is my brother, Sean Ducross. Go ahead, smash that like button, share us, subscribe to us, hit that bell notification if you're tuning us to us on YouTube. In the meantime, shout out to our sponsor, iloveanti.com. You want any CBD, CBD rubs, CBD oils, you name it, I Love Anti got you covered. Just use the promo code DucrossBros. Save you 10% on all your CBD needs. I got the oils, Sean got the rub. So we know this stuff works. So in the meantime, Sean, we got just refresh everybody. We talked about Henry Cejudo, Vitor Belfort on AEW tonight. If you didn't see it, go ahead, hit up the YouTube, and you'll be able to see it on All Elite Wrestling. Henry Cejudo, Vitor Belfort, Mike Tyson, all on AEW tonight. UFC on ESPN 9. Woodley versus Burns. Burns over Woodley from your boys. Spike Carlyle bumped up to the main card. We got Spike, believe it. Eddie Hearn, Fight Camp. Eddie Hearn and Dana White putting it a mashup together. It's going to happen. What I wish did not happen was AEW Double or Nothing.
I was talking to you on our way to get dinner tonight, and I was like, bro, like, I was talking to everybody and telling everybody the story about the Stadium Stampede matchup, and it was like a car crash. Like, ever watched some comedy special movie that was so god-awful that you just couldn't turn away and was like, why am I still watching this? It's much like that Ryan Reynolds show, movie that's on Netflix called something like Six Underground or whatever it is. I started watching 30 minutes of it. My wife was looking at me with this weird eye, looked like, what am I watching? That kind of reminded me of AEW Double or Nothing. Like, what am I watching? How am I still watching this?
Why am I still laughing?
What is going on here? The fact that we went through 5 faces of Matt Hardy, over-exaggeration a little bit, much like his character.
No, I don't think that was an exaggeration. I think that actually happened.
Dude, but I'll give props to AEW, dude. That was a nice transition of him underneath the water. To transition to like 4 different Matt Hardys. Loved it. And the fact that he was smiling, throwing up the versions of his Matt Hardy, that was probably the only cool thing.
Again, here what you get from the Ducross Brothers is we are a very transparent combat sports talk show. We tell you exactly like it is. You like us, you support us, awesome. We just give you exactly our honest opinion of what's going on in combat sports world, whether it's wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai, MMA, whatever it is.
And we have fun doing it.
Right. We enjoy what we do. AEW Double or Nothing is no different. They are not off limits for what we do. But the TNT title was given out to Cody Rhodes over Lance Archer. that looked like just like a big hubcap, like a tin steel.
Well, why are we talking about that when the big thing still right now is to talk about the Stadium Stampede? You make no sense. We're talking about the Stadium Stampede. Why do you want to go backwards and talk about the TNT title? We can talk about that to end the show. Let's stay focused on the weirdness at hand of the Stadium Stampede. Like, that was the weirdest thing I've ever seen, and so many gray areas as to what transpired and what happened. You look over across the bow at the event, and you're like, whoa, that was weird. To jump right into the middle of the fact that I was talking about Matt Hardy's different 4 phases, the fact that somehow AEW got the approval to use the matter of facts that WWE used to use for the version 1 Matt Hardy like decades ago. And the fact that Santana played off like he knew exactly where everything was, right? And he was like, wait, he could hold his breath for 367 seconds, something like that. And he's like, reading that, like, I don't think anybody else also got the fact too is that the last one said Big Money Matt, and I don't know if anybody knows where Big Money Matt came from. Do you know where Big Money Matt came from?
For a short period of time, it was his YouTube shtick.
Do you know where it came from though?
For the WWE.
No.
What?
It was from when he was in Ring of Honor. When he retransitioned over, and that was his Ring of Honor gimmick. Big Money Man, Mr. Money. I made all the money in the world, and wore suits in Ring of Honor. That's where that was. I was like, oh, okay, I see that one. But I don't think he played that one up underneath the water. It was Broken Matt, maybe Damascus. Then it was the version 1, and then it was the Extreme Matt Hardy.
Yes.
Then the other thing is like the oversell job of freaking Ortiz when the bell rung him, and he wasn't even underneath the bell. Or the fact that there was a staged wheelchair with tape on it, with duct tape on it, and I look at her dad, it's like, seriously?
Somebody's gonna get duct taped to the wheelchair. You didn't even bother to hide it or put it off somewhere. And I'm still trying to figure out how did Santana get out of the ice box if he was put inside the ice box?
Right, and it was blocked off by the stick.
Right. Who let him out?
It would have to have been a referee because it gets too chilly in there. Even though Matt Hardy said that was good for inflammation. One of the best lines ever.
It probably was.
The fact that the announcers of Tony Schiavone,
dude, they like gave up
Ross,
halfway through.
Excalibur all gave up on their
commentary halfway through the fight. Like, this is dumb. I don't know what else to say or how we're going to carry this.
Right.
The one-winged angel onto a crash pad. They didn't even bother to hide the crash pad.
No, they didn't.
Chris Jericho's throwing a flag on the a challenge flag on a pin count, and then going underneath the hood to challenge it.
The fact that he did the Judas effect to the
Jaguars mascot,
or he got ran over by the line creator by Hangman.
Why
Page?
was there a ring on the 50-yard line if we knew this was not going to be in a ring?
Like I think it was like 2 minutes of ring work, and then the rest it wasn't. And then it's Hangman Page riding it on a horse. And like seriously, that was not Jack Daniels they were drinking. That was like Arizona iced tea. That's what
yeah, because it did not look like it was alcohol.
No, it didn't. It looked like it was iced tea.
Yeah, I saw that color. I was like, it's in a Jack Daniels bottle, but that definitely does not look like Jack Daniels.
Right?
You're talking to 2 guys that legit drink whiskey. There is no way that was whiskey. And you give a milk to Kenny Omega. Why do people like Kenny Omega? I really don't. I don't get how people like Kenny Omega.
He overacts.
I just don't like Kenny Omega. I don't.
The fact that in the lobby fight with Hangman Page and Jake Hager, that fight ended up with Jake sliding freaking Hangman Page.
Why are you using
the whatchamacallit?
Why are you using sugar glass bottles, breaking them over Jack Hager's head? Like, Seriously, what's the point? We knew that was fake. We knew that was fake. That was phony. And I swear, Jack Hager's this MMA fighter, and you're making him look like a punk. He ain't no beast. I don't know what they're doing with him. I don't. I really don't. Only 2 good fights on that whole entire card goes to MJF and Jungle Boy. They put on a hell of a match. Hell of a match. I give them all the props in the world. MJF.
The jackets that the Young Bucks came out saying
Killing the business?
Killing the business. That's what the Stampede Stadium Stampede did. Straight killing the business. That was like putting on a mockery of everything that wrestling did. I get that during this pandemic that they're trying to be creative and they're trying to be
different than what the WWE is doing.
I get it. But
like WWE's entertainment, like that's what you're going to get over there.
But it's like there's limits to how much entertainment or phoniness to do. Like you're not hiding any weirdness from things.
Man, what happened to professional wrestling being where it's supposed to be believable and storylines that were cohesive and that were going together?
Like Tristan, at least with the WWE, when you botch,
right,
they're able to kind of cover it up. But like there was a botch between Brian Cage. Brian Cage botches a flip, and then he tries to do I guess maybe a flying knee to Luchasaurus. Doesn't even really connect. Kind of just taps him in the chest, and Luchasaurus acts as if this is the world's most dangerous knee. It's just like, my goodness. Or the
stop with Marco Stunt.
Or
the choke slam to Orange Cassidy on a 2-foot ladder.
Or the fact that you look at the main event, one of the main events, and I say one of the main events because the freaking co-main event was Moxley versus Brody Lee, and they set up the steel ramp for a spot through a table. We knew that one right away. We're like, oh, somebody's going to go right through there. Yep. And then when they're doing that, it was position, tap, move, sit. It's like, oh my goodness, how long are we going to wait for somebody to go through the table?
My whole thinking was, and I've been watching professional wrestling for a long time, Sean, is that does anybody know how to call a match inside of a ring? Like, everything's so, like, spotted. Like, I'm going to walk over here, do a move. Walk over here, do a move. Stop, pivot, wait for somebody, catch somebody. That's the way that these matches are laid out. I'm like, dude, the Bret Harts, the Stone Colds, the Rocks, you name them, the Undertakers, they would all call their matches inside the ring so it didn't look so staged.
And it's like we've liked what we've seen from AEW
up until this point,
up until Double or Nothing, and it was just like, oh my goodness.
And everybody thought that they won the Super Bowl after this, and I'm like, talking to people on Twitter, I'm like, they're like, oh my God, this was so amazing, and I'm like, what was so amazing about it?
No, it wasn't.
Like, if you actually took for what it was and give your honest opinion, no, it wasn't. 2 good fights. MJF, Jungle Boy, congratulations. Sheeta, congratulations. You're the new AEW Women's Champion. Put on a hell of a fight against Nyla Rose.
The fact that she swung so hard with that kendo stick
and broken upside Nyla Rose's head.
Dude, she swung that like she was swinging for a home run. I was like, ooh, good Lord.
Yes. So congratulations to Sheeta for winning the AEW Women's Championship. Congratulations. You earned it. Sean and I were cheering the whole entire time because leading up until this, we're like, we really would like to see her win it. And AEW did something right, and they put the title on her. But we are the new Cross Brothers Sports Warriors. Thank you for tuning into us this fine
Just a little bit of a
evening.
preview for next week. We will come back. We'll give our opinion on the Conor McGregor versus Usman debate, if you will, about is it going to happen, is it not going to happen. Also, a new promotion that we got wind of this past week that we'll touch on. There's a couple of them. Maybe we'll have a little bit of a surprise for next week on a secondary one, but we got some things that were interesting for next week as well.
Right, that we were working. But in the meantime, you know, it's a great time to be the new Cross Brothers Sports Warriors right here live every Wednesday.
Now, the Ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan Ducross.